Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into something that trips up a lot of e-bike riders.
Battery range.
Yeah, specifically that big 630 watt-hour Shimano STEPS battery. The manufacturers, well, they throw out some pretty big numbers.
Big is right, like up to 170 kilometers. But then you talk to actual riders or you try it yourself and it's way less.
Exactly. So our mission today is to kind of close that gap, between the lab conditions and the real world, because how far you actually go.
It depends on so many things, right?
Absolutely. Physics, basically.
Yeah.
And how you ride.
Okay, so let's start with those official numbers. They claim up to 170 kilometers, but that's only in eco mode, like the lowest assist setting.
Right. And if you bump it up to higher turbo.
Your range basically gets cut in half, down to around 85 kilometers.
Pretty much, yeah. High assist drains it much, much faster.
And even that 170 kilometer number, that's assuming what? Perfect conditions.
Totally perfect. Smooth road, zero winds, nice temperature, maybe an 85 kilogram rider. Conditions you almost never get all at once. So that's why some folks use that rule of thumb. The watt hours divided by 20.
Yeah, it's a much more, let's say, conservative way to plan. Gives you a baseline.
Okay, so 630 divided by 20. That's just over 30. Wait, no, hang on.
It's actually closer to 50 kilometer.
50. Right, okay, 50 kilometers. Wow, that's a massive drop from 170.
It is. But it's probably a safer number to have in your head when you're planning a ride, especially if you don't know the route well.
Okay, so maybe 50K is the floor. What pulls it down so much? What are the big battery killers?
Well, the biggest one, hands down, is gravity. Climbing hills.
Makes sense. The motor's fighting against your weight in the slope?
Exactly. And weight itself is a huge factor there. We saw one source suggesting a heavier rider, say 100 kilograms, might use something like 70% more power going up the same hill compared to a 50-kilogram rider.
70%. That's huge. So heavier riders just get way less range on climb.
Significantly less, yeah. You absolutely have to factor that in. On really hilly routes, your total range could easily be less than half what you'd get on flat ground.
Wow, okay. I saw an example too, like 150 kilometers potential on the flat, turning into just 64 kilometers with about 1,200 meters of climbing.
That sounds about right, especially for maybe a slightly smaller battery, but the principle's the same. Hills just eat battery.
And it's not just hills, it's the surface too, right? Like asphalt versus gravel.
Oh, definitely. Smooth asphalt is the most efficient. Gravel, trails, they add rolling resistance. The wheels just don't roll as easily.
And what about really soft stuff like sand or mud?
Oh, that's extreme. That creates massive rolling resistance. Your range can plummet on surfaces like that.
Okay, so hills, weight, surface. What else? Wind.
Yep, the invisible hill, as some call it. Riding into even a moderate headwind, maybe 10, 15 kilometer. That can make your motor work 20, even 30% harder just to maintain the same speed.
So it's like you're constantly climbing a slight gradient or carrying extra weight.
Precisely. It's continuous resistance, so those are the big drains. But there are things you can do, the efficiency secrets.
Right, because just hammering it in turbo all the time or lots of stop-start accelerating, that kills the battery too.
For sure. But the really key thing, especially with mid-drive motors like the Shimano STEPS.
This is the important bit for listeners, right?
Absolutely. It's your pedaling cadence, how fast you're spinning the pedals.
Okay. And there's an optimal range.
Yes. For those Shimano motors like the E6100 or the EP6, they're happiest, most efficient when you're pedaling between 60 and 80 RPM.
60 to 80 revolutions per minute. Why that specific range? What happens if you pedal slower? Like grinding a big gear?
Well, if you're in too high a gear, especially going uphill, and you're forcing the pedals around really slowly, say 30 or 40 RPM, the motor has to work incredibly hard just to provide torque. It draws a huge amount of electrical current.
And that wastes power.
A lot of it. It generates extra heat, puts stress on the system. Instead of efficiently putting power to the wheel, you drain the battery much faster.
So the trick is shift down, spin faster, keep the legs moving in that 60-80 RPM sweep spot.
Exactly. Use your gears just like on a regular bike to keep your cadence up. That's the single best way to maximize your range from the motor itself.
Okay, so let's pull this all together. We started with the wild 170-kilometer claim, then the super conservative 50-kilometer estimate. Considering everything mixed terrain, maybe some hills, using assist smartly, keeping the cadence up, what's a realistic expectation for this 630-watt battery?
For a typical sort of touring ride, maybe some gravel rolling hills, you're probably looking at somewhere in the range of, say, 60 to 100 kilometers.
60 to 100. That's still a pretty wide range. What makes the difference between hitting 60 and getting closer to 100?
It's really about how many of those drains stack up against you at the same time.
Okay.
If you're carrying a heavy load and it's very hilly and you've got a headwind, you'll be trending towards that lower 60-kilometer end, maybe even less in extreme cases.
So to beat range anxiety, plan for the lower end, especially if you know it's going to be tough.
That's the safest bet, definitely. Assume the conditions might be challenging.
And if you're planning something really long, way beyond that 60, 100-kilometer window,
Then you need a backup plan. Either carry a spare battery, which adds weight and cost, or plan your route very carefully around a mid-ride charging spot.
got it. So don't just trust the sticker number. Understand the drains, ride smart, and plan realistically.
That's the key. Know what affects your range, and you can manage it much better.